Okay, so the Palace Project, the who, the what, and the why. It's an ecosystem and it also has several components. So the Palace Project is a mobile app. It's available for iOS and Android devices only. It is not available for patrons that are using Paperwhite devices such as Kobos uh, or Kindles. We do ask that library staff do inform their patrons if they are coming on board, that they do download the latest software on their devices. And we have all that information when libraries come on board as well, so that you all know what information to share as our sprints continue to roll out to ensure that we are fixing any bugs throughout the lifespan of the project. It's also made up of what we call the Palace Collection Manager. Now, that is the administrative portal. That is where the library staff has the opportunity to go into Palace and to create the look and feel of Palace for their library. They can curate collections and really make those very unique to their specific library community. And our partner success leader again, Jill Scarson. She does provide a lot of training on that. And we do have tutorials, mini bite-sized tutorials to help library staff. So you're all having the great support that you would need from the Palace team. It's also made up of the Palace Marketplace, similar to what we have heard, of course, and we know very well with Overdrive. They have their marketplace and they have their app. Lots of apps out here. I believe libraries are getting a bit app fatigue at this point. So we do also have a marketplace where libraries can source content, e-content, ebooks, and audiobooks for their library patrons, and that is a nonprofit marketplace. We also have what they call the Palace Bookshelf, and that bookshelf is made up of over 38,000 open license and, open access and public domain titles. And I'll go into that a little bit further. For libraries that do not have an ILS, there is always the option for a virtual card in order to authenticate for your patrons, and that's our virtual library card. But that's really an optional service. We prefer to, if possible, for libraries, of course, that do have ILSs, that we would authenticate using that mechanism for you all. So what makes Palace special? We want to ensure that we are prioritizing what content is available now. Again, we are an app. And so when your patron goes into the app, it's all about what can they check out, listen, and read to today. Not necessarily try to bring attention to all of the holds, cues, or the titles that have a lengthy hold queue, but we really want to make sure that your patrons have access to the full corpus of content that your libraries are sourcing on their behalf. We do not sell any of the user data. That content is all for you. So we're not storing your library patrons' information at all. That is something that we are very serious about. And we also want to make sure that when libraries come on board with Palace, that we are configuring your library with a very large collection of that open access public domain material. Those are the 38,000 plus titles that I made mention of. Now, if a library is not interested in um, pretty much taking that content into the app and in part of their collection, that's perfectly fine. And you would let your implementation manager, again, Tara Carpenter, know that at the time of implementation. But what's really great about that content is there are nonfiction titles, children's titles, classics, and open textbooks as well. So we are in the process of working with a curation core of librarians, and they are putting those titles in various buckets so that should libraries decide they only want, the children's titles, they can have that, or if they only wanted the open textbooks, they can have that too. So we're really working behind the scenes to ensure that we are customizing those collections for your behalf. Now we want to provide a fundamental infrastructure to make it easy for libraries to try new content from multiple e-content sources. Because Palace is an open source platform, we work with multiple e-content vendors. And what makes us very unique and what makes us special is, of course, we are an e-aggregator app. And so when we're thinking about Palace, very different than any other app that's currently in the market today, is that we want to ensure that whether you're getting your content from Overdrive or Biblioteca or Cloud Library / Cloud Library, ProQuest, and any of the e-content providers that are interested in working with us, that we can aggregate that content into one location that really helps your patrons. We want to complement those other e-content vendors. We are not in competition with other e-content vendors. I only make mention of that because folks always ask me, are you competing with Overdrive? Are you competing with Cloud Library? And we are not. If you really think about what Palace is doing, is we're trying to serve as a broker, a middleman, so that your patron receives the best user experience without having to bounce around from app to app. It's going to really help with your circulation and your return on investment as well when your content is being utilized and it's being discovered in the one app as opposed to having to bifurcate from both multiple apps. We want to offer your library with some choice and flexibility and some options for your overall purchasing. So I have libraries that tell me all the time, well, why would I want Palace if I already have only one app? If your whole point is to aggregate content and I only have the one, there's no need to aggregate. Well, because we have a Palace marketplace and we have really great, unique, favorable licensing models, folks really want to look at Palace and say, I can go and purchase content from Palace as well and still use Palace as an option. Keeping in mind that Overdrive content would flow into Palace, Cloud Library content would flow into Palace, and so forth. So it's really important that we're able to think about not just the app, but what really makes up the ecosystem of Palace. And that is the component, again, of having the ability to purchase content with some more flexibility, some more options, and overall freedom when you're making your purchasing. So how are we helping libraries and librarians? Flexible licensing models is extremely important to the library community and is extremely important to Palace and our team. We try to work with publishers. That is, God bless you. We're going to work with publishers that provide unique publisher licenses. We want to find and work with publishers, and we have to date, that are offering perpetual licensing on titles, simultaneous use licensing, ownership licensing, and annual subscription licensing models as well. There's a lot of flexibility and choice there. Every library is created very differently. Every library is unique. And so when we think about that, we want to think about financials as well. Every library does not have the same purchasing powers as perhaps a large urban library opposed to a library in a rural community. But it doesn't mean that that library shouldn't have the same ability to make content purchases that is still going to satisfy their library community at large. And when you're able to have perpetual licensing and simultaneous use licensing, and if a budget is an issue, subscription licensing, so you know year over year what the spend would be. We're really trying to make sure that we're keeping all of that in mind when we're having these conversations with publishers. Our staff and our curation core of librarians, which make up of about 10 librarians from across the US, they are working very closely with Palace, side by side, and we work to provide curation and custom list development within the app for our patrons, for our library staff members. We also have our partner success leader, again, Jill Scarson which works directly with libraries to ensure that we can help you all to customize the look and feel of the app and create those lists and lanes for you. And again, there's a self-service option, which you're more than welcome to tackle. And it's quite simple to use the Palace Collection Manager to create those lists and lanes. We have the complimentary digital support and services. Libraries, we've had state libraries that have approached us and wanted us to create collections for them. We've had small rural libraries that have requested our assistance. All of this is at no cost. We want to ensure that we're providing not only the service, but the support that our library community requires. With ongoing trainings and programs and webinars, we want to ensure that there's lots of library engagement. There are monthly and bi-monthly webinars with libraries and communities. There are support systems all throughout. We provide marketing support. And so we are really turnkey. When libraries come on board with Palace, they have everything that they need at their fingertips to allow them to be successful with their Palace project launches. But how are we helping your patrons? When, as I mentioned previously, if you're putting all of your content into one siloed app, of course, patrons love that. They're not having to jump around. If one app has a hole, but say Palace does not, because you purchase additional content from the Palace Marketplace or any of our other e-content offerings, that really makes it really unique there. They can just go into Palace and see everything they're looking for. If they are using another app, they will be notified within the Palace Project app that their title is available if they had put a hold on another in another app. So that's really important for libraries who are trying to have, patrons kind of move over to Palace and say, hey, you're not going to miss out. You'll still know if that title is available. But at the same time, they have a lot of options at their fingertips and not just what they have in the one siloed app. We want to be designed for discovery, and that's really all works together. We put the content together for you. Your patron is discovering that content. You are curating those custom listen lanes on the back end, so the look and feel of the Palace project is your look and feel. You can customize it and have maybe something about Women's History Month, and it could be titles from open access titles can lay and sit right next to titles that you may have purchased from Overdrive or from Biblioteca or even from the Palace Marketplace. And you can create that look and feel yourself without having to do any customization along or around with other apps. We have those unique content partnerships. When I mentioned previously that we look to work with publishers that are going to extend licensing models that are going to be favorable, that's something that we really focus on. And we have some other great goodies that I'll share with you momentarily. But the app itself is designed for accessibility. We want to streamline the user experience. We want to ensure that regardless if your patron is a 5-year-old, pre-K or kindergarten student to all the way up to a centurion, we want to ensure that your patron can go into an app that has a very easy to use, accessible features that are not going to intimidate them. And all they really want to do at the end of the day is read the book or listen to the book. Preferencing available now. Now, because of the components are consisting of course, our e-content offerings, we do have some of these unique options for you. In the marketplace, which I'll delve into a little bit more throughout the presentation, I'll show you the unique licensing models that are associated there. But we also have our discovery collections. Our discovery collections, they're all going to offer simultaneous, perpetual, and/or unlimited use licensing models. Some will even have subscription licensing associated to them as well. We have BookBridge and we have the Unlimited Author Project Select collections, as well as the Palace Bookshelf, which I mentioned. So if you're thinking about all of those titles that are available in the collections from the publishers I just mentioned, when your patron goes in on day one, they're seeing tons of content that's available to them on day one. But how do we make this all possible? Of course, there's integrations and partnerships. And so folks are wondering, all right, I may have Palace, but will Palace work for my library? Can I even integrate with Palace? Would I have to use a VLC card? These are the ILS systems that Palace currently is able to authenticate patrons through, as well as create your implementation and streamline that process. We have Audiographics, Verso, Biblionics, Apollo, Koha, DPLA, which of course DPLA products are Millennium, Polaris, and Sierra. We have Circe Dynex, Horizon, and Symphony Workflows, TLC, and Atrium. Our content providers are Overdrive, Cloud Library, BiblioBoard, which falls under the Palace House, Blackstone Unlimited for those thinking that they may be interested in a subscription to Blackstone Unlimited audio content, or if you have a subscription already, they have allowed their content to also seamlessly flow into the Palace app. We have our Palace Marketplace content that would naturally flow into the app, our Bookshelf, which is the open access public domain titles, ProQuest for those who have ProQuest, Bookbridge Unlimited, that's also an audio publisher, Indie Author Project, and Taylor and Francis. Now, discovery layers. Aspen Discovery, for anyone here who has Aspen as their discovery layer, that currently is live. So libraries we would integrate that as well. And coming soon is BiblioCommons for those who have BiblioCommons as the discovery layer. So let's go into the digital content offerings from the Palace project. These are all of our current digital partners, and this is growing. We love to hear from our library community if there are any other e-content providers that you would like for us to reach out to and to try to work with, so that content, if you are currently working with those folks, we would like to have you, of course, be able to put that content into your Palace app as well. So we are open to all suggestions and working together to ensure that the Palace project experience is one that you're going to be very content with. We talked a little bit about the e-content providers, but let's see what licensing models that are available because of those relationships. Perpetual use licensing, one at a time lens, so there's no need, of course, to renew those licenses. We also have our perpetual or subscription sim use, so there's no wait times or turnaways for those licensing models. But then we also have two other licensing models which are very unique to the Palace project and mainly our Palace marketplace. Now we have the bundles of 40 with 10 lens available at a time, so 10 concurrent lens. This allows for maximized discovery and availability. So when you're thinking about promoting a title or maintaining that availability in your digital collection, the 40 by 10 is a really great licensing option. We also have our bundles of five concurrent lens. That's really kind of like your bite-size offering, where a library can test whether a title will circulate. We want to ensure that libraries don't necessarily have to have tons of licensing models or tons of copies, but if we can make licensing lens that are concurrent, that's also very attractive to our library adopters. And so we've been able to ask for these licensing models specifically, and any licensing model that does not have a time-bound licensing restriction to them. We also have the one lens at a time, so pretty much like a cost per circ type of thing. And that has been offered most recently by Penguin Random House, and they have over 120,000 titles that they've made available with that licensing model. And what's really unique is our ownership model. And so we have over 38,000 titles that have ownership licensing model associated to those. But with those titles, they're also the option to have time bound or not time bound for the same title. So again, it's giving our library community the options and the choice and the flexibility when it comes to making their purchases across various platforms and e-content providers. I've included here a link to both our Penguin Random House imprints with the 120,000 titles, as I mentioned. So you'll all be able to take a look at that once this presentation has been shared out. Also, Macmillan has offered the 5x5 licensing model for over 780 plus titles. And this, again, is very different because in speaking with the big five, we know they're pretty difficult to have them move in any different direction than what they're accustomed to. But we've been able, by way of our conversations and making requests, and not to necessarily use the word advocacy, but we are really pushing, we're standing side by side with our library partners to ensure that they have the biggest bang for their buck. And if we can do whatever we can with publishers, we definitely make these kind of requests. So the Palace Marketplace has over 1.8 million titles. We have titles from Big Five publishers, of course. Amazon Publishing is very unique to the Palace project, as well as Audible Studios. And we have other major publishers and indie publishing houses. So there's quite a lot that you'd be able to source from the Palace Marketplace. We also have additional self-published catalog, which when we've ingested that catalog, our curation core of librarians that take their time to vet those collections and put them into various selections for libraries that are interested in having digital content from indie authors or self-published titles. This is just a quick cheat sheet for the Amazon publishing titles where we list all the imprints here. But there is a link in this presentation that will take you directly to where you'll be able to find the Amazon titles, imprints, as well as Audible titles, and over 100 publishers that are offering licensing models that are favorable, that we've been able to kind of have them move in our direction in some form or fashion. Now we have Audible. Thousands of titles from Audible, ranging from fiction to memoirs to standalone titles and even series. They're offering concurrent bundle offers or time-bound offers. And of course, trending titles such as Project Hail Mary and Dungeon Crawler Carl are all available. You can receive the entire series in Audible from Dungeon Crawl Carl. So if anyone's interested in that, or if there's been requests by your library patrons, just know that the Palace Marketplace is where you'd be able to source that content for your community. Here, the marketplace, as I mentioned, we do provide the curation core by way of the curation core assistance with collection development, but we also have taken the time in the marketplace for selections to be pre-curated to ensure that when folks are going in to make purchases in the marketplace, that they'd be able to see those collections there for them already handled, whether it is on a timely topic or if they wanted to feature a lane, award-winning titles, and so forth. And this is the access to the Palace Marketplace where you'd have the ability to kind of play around with the marketplace on your own. And I mentioned the over 100 publishers that are making licensing models very favorable. And there's a link there that you'd all be able to play around and check those out as well. So our digital collection, our Discovery collection, excuse me, offers perpetual subscriptions, unlimited simultaneous use titles, annual subscriptions. All of this is really going to help to ensure that there's lots of circulation in your library when it comes to your titles. So your titles that are perpetual obviously will appear in your collection year over year. You pay one-time fee. There's no need to renew for the license on an annual or biannual basis. You have, of course, our unlimited simultaneous use titles. That allows for a limited number of users at a time. It's great for community reads. It's great for book clubs. There's never holes on those titles. There are never any hole queues. And it gives your library an opportunity to also promote lesser known authors and titles. Now the annual subscriptions. You can purchase collections partially or full collections on an annual basis for an annual subscription. You can decide the following year if the budget gets squeezed a little bit and that's a collection that you wanted to terminate, you can do that. So that gives you some flexibility there as well. We're truly trying to make sure that whatever we're offering as far as our e-content is going to be suitable for every library, every size, and of every budget. Here is some diverse content that we have that's quite popular from our Discovery collections. We have some popular fiction and nonfiction. There are graphic novels. There are YA and educational titles. Again, let's not forget in the Discovery collection, all those titles are simultaneous, perpetual, and unlimited use. So if you're having educational titles, great place to be able to look at those collections. We also have featured publishers such as Barber, Ocean View, Gibbs Smith, Chicago Review Press, and a lot more. Here we have some top circulating graphic novels: Dark Horse Comics, Valiant Entertainment, Image Comics, Archie Comics. Marcosia is one of our newest publishers added to this collection. And of course, we know that if there's high circulation, that means that it's going to be high patron engagement. But we don't stop there. There's also the Indie Author Project. Now, the Indie Author Project is part of the Palace Project, is part of our Ebooks and Community Engagement Division. This is where we really give libraries the opportunity to bring indie materials that have been reviewed by the Library Journal, which is our industry professional partner. And all content, again, is simultaneous use. We have an award winner that we honor every year at ALA. And this year, for 2024, or last year rather, the award winner was Melissa Bobie. She had won an award for her book title, Electric Trees. And we do this content and we open it up to the world internationally in April of each year. And so when a author, an indie author, is published and they have received accolades and all the titles have been reviewed, then we put them into the Indie Author Project Select collection. And when libraries purchase those titles, we do have a royalty system here that we send out royalties to those independent authors. And that really allows your library to bring in quality library community driven content. But we've talked about a lot about ebooks that are unlimited and simultaneous use and some subscription models just for ebooks, but we also have audiobook offerings as well. Now, audiobooks are by far, oftentimes, much more expensive than ebooks. Now, with our partnership with BookBridge Unlimited Audio, they have provided us with a really great collection. Their core collection is made up of 4,000 plus audiobooks, and that consists of Christian, inspirational, Western, fiction, children's, young readers, and classics. They also have award-winning, best-selling author and ebook that they're putting together, which has been really great. It's 1,000 plus titles. A lot of the bestsellers that we're reading here that are in English, you're able to source those titles in audiobooks as well as ebooks in Spanish as well. They are offering read-alongs for libraries that are interested in that, as well as language learning. And those are audiobooks that are correlated with the ebooks. So what is the benefit of the e-content options that we make available here at Palace? First of all, it's about the economics, right? We're all talking about economics all the time. I can't afford to buy down the whole queue. We have an app that we're trying to get rid of right now because we're not using it. Or patrons are not necessarily reading the titles that we've purchased and they're not circulating. So there's currently oftentimes we're hearing here at the Palace team that there is not a return on the investment. But when libraries have begun to source and adopt the Palace project, the story seems very different. We're hearing quite the opposite. And so we're excited about that. More content available at checkout, the simultaneous, the perpetual, the unlimited use titles, all available at checkouts, laying side by side with your current e-content. Everything is aggregated into one app for discovery. We're expanding your catalog with unique and diverse content. Amazon and Audible content, BookBridge Unlimited content, Indie Author Project Select award-winning content. These are all things that are really going to drive a lot of community engagement, a lot of patron engagement, and libraries absolutely are loving what it's doing to their communities and seeing how their circulation is increasing. So it's been a benefit to everyone across the board. Ownership model. Now, libraries have been asking about ownership. Why can't I own my e-content the same way I do a physical book on the stacks? Now, we've made that available. We have 38,000 titles that are available for ownership if that's something that you're interested in. And that's been made available by IPG, Independent Publishers Group. But last but not least, we want to offer the library community with lots of flexibility in how they're making their e-content purchases, as well as a choice. That flexibility and choice is just not only for the library, but it's also for your patron. There are patrons that may prefer a more seamless, easy to use, patron-facing app, and others who are going to only want to remain in the app that they're currently in, and that's fine. They have that choice. But ultimately, it comes down to providing that choice and providing that flexibility for yourselves, as well as for your library community. Now, last but not least, I want to just mention that we do have some upcoming webinars and Q&A sessions that are going to be hosted by various members of the Palace Project team. Here you'll see Baker and Taylor Boundless for any library that may currently or had has Baker and Taylor content and they may be interested in adopting Palace, our team is available to field those questions and let you know what we can do for you all for content transfer. And these are the dates. There's one coming up just this coming Wednesday. All of those meetings will be from 2 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And every Wednesday until the very end of the month, because our offices do close for the week of Christmas, so up to December 17th, there'll be some folks available to answer those questions for you. Because we've put in place some special pricing for every single library in the state of Michigan, we've also decided that we're going to go ahead and we're going to waive any e-content transfer fees for any library that currently does have Baker and Taylor who wishes to transfer that content and find a new home for that content here at the Palace Project. And we also have our fall updates webinar. So this is where you're going to come out. You're going to hear about us talking about what's new, what's launching soon, what to expect for 2026. And any questions that you have, feel free to bring them to that webinar. It's also a great opportunity just to kind of listen in on what other questions that other libraries have, both existing Palace Library adopters and folks that are considering adopting the Palace Project. Always jump in on those calls. So it's a great opportunity to have some fellowship, if you would, with your fellow library community partners. And the registration link is there for you as well. These are all of our resources. You can see the discovery collections as far as our BiblioBoard discovery collections and the languages that we make available for unlimited, simultaneous, and perpetual use. So you'll be able to click on that link. If you wanted to see exactly what kind of information we're requesting when we're trying to assist with your collection development and curate your collections for you, you'll be able to see that there. Of course, we do not hide our roadmap. Our roadmap is public. So if you want to see what the Palace Project team has been working on, what we've worked on, and what we're continuing to develop, of course, you'll be able to check out our public roadmap as well. And there are some promotional materials, so you can get a snapshot of what we make available to libraries when they adopt to help the Palace launch. And we have our YouTube channel. If you're interested in seeing any other presentations that have been recorded or tutorials on the collection manager or how to go into the app, all of that is available to you. There are bite-sized videos, little pocket-sized videos, if you would, as well as very lengthy 1 hour plus presentations, but they're all filled with lots of great information. Always good to play in the background, either which way. Now, this is the team. This is the folks that you'd be talking to, and I'm sure these names are familiar to you. Carissa Egan is our Director of Operations. Michael Atwood is our Senior Director of the Ebooks and Community Engagement Division. I did mention Tara Carpenter, Jill Scarson, which is on the call, and Micah May. He works with publishers to ensure that we're getting all those yummy, flexible licensing models that we make available to all of our library adopters. But I would be remiss if I did not tell you that we also have testimonials. So these are testimonials. There's about 3 or 4 testimonials. I'll just keep put this one on the page for you all. But when this gets shared out, you'll find not only testimonials from other library adopters that have since adopted Palace, but also from one of our patrons that really enjoyed the experience. So with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm also going to stop recording. So if there are any questions, feel free to post those and I will work with answering those questions for you.